No, making me chillos. This is the talk.
The way you sound now, for sure. We're starting Daf Samach Dalid. So the Gemara says that we said that a korban, the Seila Azazel, is not allowed to be mehusar zman. Right? We included it from the Ribuy of LaHashem, that Vaya Shivat Yamim Tahat Imo, right? Yiratzeh korban Ishe LaHashem, to include the Seila Azazel. The Gemara asks, how could you possibly have a Seila Azazel that's mehusar zman? The only way to be makdish is through a goral. And the goral will only be makdish something that's ra'ui LaHashem. So, meaning to be the Se'il Hashem. The Se'il Hashem for sure has to be not mehusar zman, because it's regular korban. So, but through the back door, anyway, you can't have a Se'il Azazel that's going to be mehusar zman, because you can't be makdish. So what do I need a pasuk for? So the Gemara so far answered that it goes like Rabbi Shimon. That Rabbi Shimon holds that you could be makdish the sa'ir without a goral. Rava says, top of the page, Kegon shehayalo hole betoch beto. He had a sick person in the house. V'sha'at imo b'yom kippurim. And he slaughtered the mother on Yom Kippur. So, meaning, this guy, let's say Reuven, he is the vendor for the sa'ir, for the shnei se'irim. Now he sold them 2 se'irim, and the mothers of the se'irim are still in his house. Now on Kippur, somebody in the house, Bar Minan, got sick. The doctor said he needs fresh meat right now. So they had no other sheep, other goats. They took the goat, the mother goat of the Sa'il Azazel, and they slaughtered it. Now, ve'oto ve'et beno lo tishhatu b'yom echad. Now, lo tishhatu b'yom echad, it's also considered mehusar zman, because I have to wait till tomorrow to make the shechita. So therefore, b'sha'at hagrala, it was ra'ui LaHashem. It wasn't mehusar zman. And now, after the hagrala, when he slaughtered the mother, so now it became mehusar zman. Right? Rava amar kegon sha'ita lo hole betoch beto, v'shachat imo b'yom kippurim. Says Gemara, v'chi hagavna mi asir? Is that asur? By oto ve'et beno lo tishchatu b'yom echad. Amar Rahamana. V'hai lav shechita. You're not slaughtering it. Says Gemara, Amri b'ma'arava. They say in Eretz Yisrael, tehiyato lasuk zui shechitato. The pushing off from the mountain, that's also considered a shechita, and it's asur. Tzuk, that's the name of the mountain. They call it Tzuk.
Tzuk, anybody.
Rashi, mi asilo lichol tzuk mashlich mishum oto vebeno. Im shel shem met ze she'alav hagoral la shem ya'amot tachtav.
What they do in this case? They get a different one to make a different hagoral?
There's no choice. Right? So Im shel shem met ze she'alav.
Why don't they do it something else? Why from the beginning they don't make hagoral? Why don't they make somebody else?
What do you mean, someone else?
No, instead of shahad the mother, you have different one.
They didn't shech the mother till after.
No, you have the mother, and you have the other ones already goral.
The mother was there. They didn't know. They made the goral. 2 beautiful ones.
Why? Because in this case, the mother...
No, they didn't slaughter the mother yet. They slaughtered the mother after the goral.
Oh.
So I have to worry he's going to get someone sick in his house. You have to take yitomim. Okay. Says Gemara, Im shel shem met ze she'alav al goral Hashem ya'amot tachtav. Hasheni, the second one, Yirachi Yistayim. So it's going to come out like this. You had a Shem and a Azazel. The Shem died, so now I have left one la Azazel. I'm going to bring another pair. I'm going to make another goral. Now I'll have one la Shem and another one la Azazel. So I have one la Hashem, 2 la Azazel. So which one am I using for Hashem? I know. Second pair. Which Azazel am I using? Azazel 1 or Azazel 2? So the Gemara says, Amar Rav, Sheni shebezug rishon yikarev, Sheni shebezug sheni yir'eh. Which Azazel to use? Azazel 1. The first Azazel. The second Azazel goes out to pasture. Right? Rabbi Yochanan, what?
The starve, right?
No. Till it gets a mum and then you...
It makes more sense the second one. The whole point is you're taking 2 and they're going to have different fates. But if you use one from the first, one from the second, the concept's not there.
Okay, that's your philosophy. We'll see the 2 Emoraim philosophies, and you'll see if you...
I'm sure you would agree with it.
Listen, you have your aesthetic philosophy.
If they need one Se'ir, why can't you go out just to know which Se'ir to be?
It would be not
How do you make a goral on one?
one of the two. Whichever one of these two will be the Sa'ir that goes to the Shem.
Seir Hashem.
Seir Hashem.
I think we said before that a goral has the goralot. It needs to have two goralot. That's like the definition of the goral.
That's like a positive and negative.
That was on Daf Mem. Shnei Seirim goralot. That's where it goes.
Sign both.
That's because you need both. But now you don't need both.
That's the way that we don't have a chidush that the goral works any other way. That was on Daf Mem. So the Gemara says Sheni shebezug. Rabbi Yochanan Amar Rabbi Yochanan says Sheni shebezug rishon yireh. Leave the first one to perish. The sheni shebezug sheni yikarev. You offer the second one. What's Rabbi Yochanan and Rav arguing about? Rav savar ba'alei hayim enam nidachim. Rabbi Yochanan savar ba'alei hayim nidachim. Look in Rashi. En nidachim. Imir alahem sha'at pesul. If there was a time that it was uneligible, adayin yecholin litaken. You could fix them. For example, like here, kishiz daveg lo aher. Hare kol od that you don't have a sa'il azazel, you can't even you can't be makriv l'Hashem. Kol od you don't have a sa'il Hashem, the sa'il azazel is pasul. So in the process of getting towards destination, this sa'ir became pasul. So do we say once it becomes pasul, it's totally nidcheh, or do we say no? If you fix it, it could come back.
So actually, the Hagrala, it's not one Hashem or Azazel. It's one Hashem and Sheni to nothing.
You're talking about the second Hagrala?
Both of them.
The first one is
first one, so the second one, okay, the second, yeah.
Second one,
the first opinion.
okay, not. Yeah. So we say, right, Adayin yecholin litaken kishizaveg lo aher. V'lo amrinan ho'il v'nidche yidache. We don't say once it got ruined, it gets ruined. Ela b'shichutin, only with non-live products, something that was nishhat. Kigon met ha-mishtaleach. If the mishtaleach died, yishafech adam. The blood for sure is pasul. Why? Because the blood was ra'ui. When the mishtaleach died, now it's not eligible. So you have to pour it out. So the Gemara says, that's what Rav says, en ba'alei hayim nidchim. Since this is alive, it's not nidcheh. Rabbi Yochanan says, ba'alei hayim nidchim. And therefore, once it was ra'ui and it got pushed off when its partner died, it can never be used again. Better to use the whole second pair. Right? Again, Rav savar ba'alei hayim enam nidachim. Rabbi Yochanan savar ba'alei hayim nidchim. My ta'amad Rav. Where does Rav learn that ba'alei hayim are not nidchim? Says Gemara mi mechusa azman. I'll learn it from a simple case. The case of mechusa azman. Every baby animal that's born is pasul to be a korban until it's 8 days old. So we say mehusar zman, a baby animal. Lava falgav dehashta lohazi, even though now it's not eligible. Ki adar mechze, when it comes of age, shapir dami, it becomes eligible. Hachanami loshna. So just because it was pasul at one time, doesn't mean it has to stay pasul. That's the first. The Gemara says, what do you mean? What kind of proof is that? Hachanami loshna. Mi dami, is that a comparison? Hatam lo itchazek kelal. Over there was never ra'ui, so it was never in the parasha. You're right. What before it becomes eligible, and then that's not going to ruin it. It wasn't in the parasha yet, but when you were eligible and then you became uneligible, that's worse, right? Hacha nir'eh v'nidcheh. Over here it was eligible when it was original hagrala, then it became uneligible. Maybe it should never become eligible again. You can't prove that from a mehusaz man which started off uneligible. Ela, hanu ta'amad Rav. This is Rav's reason. The yalif min ba'al mum over. We learn from a ba'al mum that has a temporary mum. It got a scratch, it got a cut or something. As long as it has the cut or the scratch or whatever, it's pasul. When it becomes, when it heals, now it becomes ra'ui for the mizbeach. Right? So we say, ba'al mum over. Ba'al mum over lav aval gavdo lo hazi hashta. Even though now it's not eligible. Ki adar mechze, when it becomes healed. Shapir dami, it's okay. Hachanami loshna. So to over here, it's no different. Says Gemara v'hatami nalan. How do you know that a ba'al mum over that comes eligible again, you could use it? Tichtiv ki moshchatam bahim mumbam. Mumbam. The mum is in them, so but it's extra. Mumbam hudu lo yiratzu. You can't use them as long as they have the mum. Ha'avar muman. Once the mum leaves, yiratzu, you can use them. So the Torah came to tell you that even though it was kadashim and it got a mum, when the mum goes away, you could use it. So too over here, even though when the Sa'il Hashem died, the Se'ilas Azel was temporarily unavailable. When I get a new Se'il Hashem, the Se'ilas Azel comes back. Okay, now the pressure's on Rabbi Yochanan. The Rabbi Yochanan, what are you going to do with that? It says, Mi'etra hamana bahem. It says, Ki moshchatam bahem mumbam. Only by him, only by mumim, do we say mumbam. As long as the mum is there, it's no good when the mum goes away now. By other things, by other pisulim, even though the psul went away, it stays nidchem. Right? Bahem, hem hu dechi avar mumam, yeratzu. Ha kol dehuyin, ho'il v'nidchu nidchu. Once it gets pushed off, it gets pushed off. No. V'rav, what do you do with bahem? So this is a little complicated. Hahu bahem, be'enayhu hu de lo mirzu. Hal yedeh ta'aruvot mirzu. When is ba'alei mumim not acceptable as a korban? When you're bringing it alone. But let's say the ba'al mum got mixed in with other pieces, then min adin it could be acceptable some ways. Let's see. The kedetnan, like hal yedeh ta'aruvot mirzu kedetnan. Evarim be'evarim ba'alei mumim. You have evarim from timimim. They got mixed in with evarim from ba'alei mumim, or with one evar of ba'alei mumim. So now I have 10 heads. One of them came from a ba'al mum. Rabbi Eliezer Omer im karev harosh le'echad mehem. If they didn't realize they will makriv one rosh, so now I'll be toleh and I'll say maybe the head that was karev was from the ba'al mum, and all the rest of them are not, and I'm makriv all of them. It's like it should be minadim. Once it got mixed in, it started was mutar. But we're mahmir. But once one of them becomes karev, it's out of the running. So I'm toleh that one was the Baal Mum, the rest of them are not, and I'm makriv the rest of them.
And if he hasn't makrived any of them?
No, then you leave them.
All 100.
Whatever it is. Look in because olim are not patil. You need an extra safek. You need an extra tzad. Over here you have an extra tzad. Besides the fact that there's a rov, there's also a tzad that maybe I'm not even bringing one that's a Baal Mum.
Why can't you take one out and say?
You can't be mevatel isul l'chatchila. Plus taking one out.
Basically the same thing when you mikarev one.
No, I wasn't makriva b'meiz. It happened by itself. It happened by mistake. Rashi says, look at Rashi. Evarim shel ola timimim shenitarvu bahem evare ba'al mum ahat im karev harosh shel echad mehem kodem shergishu. If they already brought one before they realized, yakrivu kol harashin kulam. Betolim ha'isur, we assume the isur is be'oto shekarev kevar, with the one that was already brought. Betolim lekula. Why can we toleh lahakel? Hare, that's the opposite is true. Normally the rules would tell you kol de parish miruba parish. Whatever came from the rov. Probably not a Baal Mum one, but because ho'il v'nit arvu, once it got mixed, then it's not a clear Baal Mum. En kan safek isur de oraita. The isur is only drabanan, because Bahem told you only when it's be'ayin. Lemeza lehumra. Delo izira Torah alehem ele keshem be'atzmam. When it's only Baal Mum. Shneimar Bahem. Ki moshchatam Bahem mumbam. Ki itin be'enayu, only when they're alone. So since now that it got mixed, it became an isur drabanan. So I could be toleh lahakel that the one that was karev was this one. Now, the Chachamim argue. What about the fact that there's Chachamim? They say the Chachamim are mahmir midrabanan. It's all a question drabanan. In the drabanan, could have it toleh lahakel or not. But the Chachamim agreed to the Yisod that once there's a mixture, it's only an Isud Rabbanan.
If Rav is going to now interpret this pasuk as being post-mortem, after it's dead, then his mum bam doesn't work anymore. His mum bam is when it was still alive.
Right.
Now he's interpreting the pasuk to saying...
Big deal.
So this pasuk is either after it's dead or before it's dead.
It's both. It's a little of this and a little
Can't.
of that. It could be. Not so bad. Says the Gemara, V'chachamim omrim afilu karvu kulan, even if you makriv all the heads, chutz me'echad except for one, yetzeh lebet hasirefa. You have to take it and burn it. So that's what Rav holds. V'idach, what does Rabbi Yochanan? How does Rabbi Yochanan learn that dirasha? Nav kilemi bam bahem. He learns a double. He could have said bam. It says bahem. One is to teach me only in by Baal Mum do we say that it's not nidcheh. And the second one is to tell me that only when it's be'ayin. V'idachem Rav, bam bahem lo darish. He doesn't have a double dirasha from bam and bahem. Now the Gemara goes back to ask on Rav. So Rav, According to Rabbi Yochanan, you have to use the second one. Why? Because the first one is pasul. Why is the first one pasul? It's nidche. I only have one. But according to Rav, neither one is nidche. The first one is a nidche and the second one is nidche. Okay, so tell me, flip a coin and use which one you want. Why are you telling me to use dafka the first one? Says Gemara v'Rav nihina mi de ba'alei hayim enam nidchim. Even though the ba'alei hayim don't get pushed off, and therefore you could use the first one. Ibai hayna kariv, ibai hayna kariv. Let me use whichever one I want. Amarava Rav savarrak Rabbi Yossi. Rav holds like Rabbi Yossi. The Amar mitzvah berishon. It's a mitzvah to use the first one that was dedicated to this mitzvah. Hey Rabbi Yossi, where's Rabbi Yossi? Now we had this a couple days ago. Inei mahar Rabbi Yossi. If you're going to tell me it's this Rabbi Yossi, where it says the kupot, where it spoke about kupot. The Tanan shalosh kupot shel shalosh sa'in. 3 boxes of 3 se'in each. Shebahem tormi ben talishcha. Through them they would take the money from the lishcha, where the money from the mahasita shekel was. V'katuv alehem, they had on each box aleph bet gimal. Aleph on the first, bet on the second, gimal on the third. V'tanyam, we learned Amar Rabbi Yossi. Lama katuv alehem aleph bet gimal. Why does it say aleph bet gimal? Leda, to know eze mehen netrema rishon. Which one you used first? Lavi hemena rishon. And you'll use the one that you took the money in first, to use that to buy korbanot first. Shemitzvah barishon. It's a mitzvah to use the one that you designated first. So you see that it's a mitzvah to use the first. So to over here, where I have 2 se'ila zazels, use the first one. Says Gemara, that wouldn't be a proof. Dilma shani hatam de beidna de et hazeh kamaita la et hazeh batraita. Over there, when the first one became eligible, right away, as soon as they put the money in, you could start using it to use korbanot. The second one wasn't there yet. So the first one, be'emet, is first. Right? Ela aval... aval... One second. Mashenken over here, when you have this Sa'ila Azazel on the side, the first one, you couldn't use it anyway. It's not a sa'ir, it's not ready to be used for the mitzvah until after you do all the avodot of the par and the sa'ir bifnim. So therefore, in the end, after you're going to go get a new sa'ir azazel, you can have the 2 standing there. They're only going to become eligible after I finish the avodah at the same moment. So maybe it's not a rishon. Ela Rabbi Yossi de Pesach. It's Rabbi Yossi of Pesach. The Tanya we learned hamafrish pischov. Somebody set aside his korban Pesach. Ve'aved, and it got lost. So then he set aside the second one. Now there's 2 pesachim, one that he has and one that's lost. Then he finds the first one. And they're both there. Use whichever one you want. It's a mitzvah to use the one you set aside first. Now in this case, the second one is nice to use the second one. Why?
In this case also.
Why?
He would hold that in this case also by the Seir Hashem.
That's the reason why we're bringing it, because in this case, Rabbi Yossi of Kupot, the Rabbi Yossi of Pesach, the first Korban Pesach was also not usable when you set it aside. It wasn't Pesach yet, wasn't it a Pesach? So they're both going to become eligible at exactly the same time at this man Korban Pesach. Yet he still says to use the Rishon. So you see that Rabbi Yossi holds it's a mitzvah to use the first one, even if when you put it aside you couldn't use it. Like the Se'irim, when you set aside the first Sa'ir, you couldn't use it.
No, he has an even stronger chidush. He's saying when I designated my second, I still didn't have the first. It was only a charkach.
Okay.
So it wasn't even the same moment. No. Even if the second one's good, the first one's still not here. Later, the first one comes back.
Okay.
I have to nitche. It's even a stronger chidush and
but we only
bring one. It can't still be like a choose one. It can still be like choose one.
The Chachamim all choose one. Rabbi Yossi says choose the first.
It's better to use the first, but if the second one's better, the second one's better.
Because the ma'ala of Rishon is not as great as the ma'ala of Muvhar.
But if you... No, we have this also in the Korbanot, the Sa'ir also, only in Pesach.
No, he's saying the same rule would apply. That's what Rav holds by Pesach. Use the first one. Says the Gemara, Amar Rava, Dika matnitin kavate de Rav, uberaita kavate de Rabbi Yochanan. If you want to pay attention to the text of the Mishnah, it's more meduyak like Rav. That it means to use the first one. But there's a Braita that fits like Rabbi Yochanan. So the Machloket, Rav and Rabbi Yochanan, Machloket Tanaim. What's that? Matnitin kavate derav daiki derav dekatani im shel Shem emet. If the Tza'il Hashem died, ze she'ala alav hagoral Hashem yitkayem tachtav. It doesn't say that about the second one. It's a Vasheni. It actually says, doesn't say the Ha'azazel also yitkayem tahat Ha'azazel. According to Rabbi Yochanan, Hare, the first Tza'il Azazel was nifsal. So they both yitkayem tachtav. Right? But the Lashon of the Gemara's diuk is ve'idach k'dekai kai. The second Sa'ir stayed good. Rashi b'ktushatev v'lo amrin an yitche. We don't assume it's nitche. So that's how the Mishnah is more meduyak like Rav. Now we go to the Braita that's mashma like Rabbi Yochanan. Braita kavate de Rabbi Yochanan. The katani sheni eni yodeya. It says sheni. What sheni should I do? Eni yodeya im sheni shebezug rishon. Im sheni shebezug sheni. I don't know if you choose the first sheni or the second sheni. Keshu omer ya'omad chai. Right? He should stand alive. That's what it says. V'sa'ir asher ala alav agoral la'azazel ya'omad chai. לפני השם לכפר עליו, לשלח אותו לעזאזל המדברה. יעומד חי, ולא שחברו מת. You have to do one that's high, not if the partner of it died. Where do you see partners dying in that pasuk? מה משמע? יעומד חי, ולא שכבר עמד. After the goral, you put it to stand. That's the first time you're putting it to stand. Now you're going to put it to stand again. If you're using the first one, it was standing. It stopped standing because Ya'omad means it's designated. As soon as the Se'il Hashem died, it's not designated anymore. Now, after you put a second one, it becomes designated again. The Baraita has a mashmaut. Ya'omad, one time you could put it to stand, not a second time. Because if it's nidche, it's nidche. Rashi, Ya'omad chai v'lo shekvar amad v'nidche. It was standing and it got pushed off al yedei mitat chaviro. ועכשיו הוא בא לחזור ולעמוד, יעומד חי עמידה אחת ולא שתי עמידות. Fine. Tenan, we learned in our Mishnah. V'od amar Rabbi Yehuda. Rabbi Yehuda said another chidush. Besides for Rabbi Yehuda saying Yamut HaMishaleach, that it's chayav mita. He also said another that we say chataot hametot betzibur. We have another one. Nishpach adam, if the blood spilled, Yamut HaMishaleach. Let the Mishtaleach has to die. Met HaMishtaleach, if the Mishtaleach died, Yishafech Adam, you have to spill the blood. So I understand why Met HaMishtaleach Yishafech Adam, because that's not Ba'alei Hayim. That's Shechutim Nidchim. No problem. Bishlam al Rabbi Yochanan the Amar who says Ba'alei Hayim Nidchim Mishum Hachi Amut HaMishtaleach. That's why if you spill the blood, the Mishtaleach has to die, because since there's no blood, the Mishtaleach is no good. By the time you're going to make another Shechitah and have more blood Lashem, this one already became Nidcheh. Rabbi Yochanan holds Ba'alei Hayim Nidchim. So you might as well you're going to wind up letting the Sa'il Hashem, the Sa'il Azazel die. Ela l'Rav the Amar Ba'alei Hayim ena Nidchin. He holds the Ba'al Hay is not Nidcheh. So what are you telling me? Yamut HaMishtaleach. As soon as you make another Goral and you have another one Lashem, you're going to use that original one. Right? Ela l'Rav the Amar Ba'alei Hayim ena Nidchin. Ama Yamut HaMishtaleach. Why should it die? Amar l'Charav. Rav will tell you. Aliba de Rabbi Yehuda lo ka'amina. I'm not saying my shita according to Rabbi Yehuda. I know. Rabbi Yehuda holds Ba'alei Hayim Nidchim. Ki ka'amina aliba de Rabbanan. I'm saying like the Tanakama Val Mishnah, who didn't say this ve'od amar Rabbi Yehuda. He holds Ba'alei Hayim enam Nidchim. Says the Gemara, Bishlam al Rav behapligi. According to Rav, I understand what Rabbi Yehuda and the Tanakama are arguing about. The Tanakama holds Ba'alei Hayim enam Nidchim. And Rabbi Yehuda holds Ba'alei Hayim Nidchim. That's why Nishpach Adam Yamut HaMishtaleach. Right? Bishlam al Rav behapligi. Rabbi Yehuda v'Rabbanan. Ela Rabbi Yochanan v'mai pligi. What are they arguing about? Amar Rava ha'amrina. That's what we said. Dika matnitin kavated Rabbi Yochanan. That the Mishnah goes easy like Rabbi Yochanan, because the Tanakama holds Ba'alei Hayim enam Nidchim. And that's why we said, V'hasheni yired. You didn't say Yitkayem Tachtav. And the Braita goes like Rabbi Yochanan. Tenan, we learned in the Mishnah. It said before. It says in the Mishnah that when you makriv v'shel azazel met zeh shel rav yohan v'asheni yireh ad sheyistaev v'yimacher v'yiplu damav l'davar she'en hatat tzibur meta. The reason why it doesn't die is because a hatat tzibur doesn't die. Says the Gemara, Tanan.
The last line.
What? Matnitin dika kavate de Rav. You're telling me according to Rabbi Yochanan and you can't explain Pshat in the Mishnah what they're arguing about? I know because the Mishnah goes like Rav. Tanan she'en hatat tzibur meta. Ha the yachid, if it would be a yachid ki hay gavna. If this sa'ir, this pair of sa'irim was yachid, meta, you would say it dies. Bishlam al Rabbi Yochanan, who says that you're bringing the second one. Kid Rabbi Abba Amarav. It goes like Rabbi Amarav. Look in Rashi. The Amar b'masechet Temura. Kabe plugta de Rabbi Yochanan, the Rabbi, the Rabban shenechlaku b'mafrish chatatof. You set aside a chatat. V'nevda and it got lost. V'frish acheret tachteha and you put another one. V'nimtzet harishona v'aresh tehem omdot. Same case. By a yachid with a chatat. The Ka'amar Rabbi says, mitkaper be'achat mehem. Use one. V'ashniya tamut, and the second one dies. V'chachamim omrim, en hatat shenitkapru be'alea meta, ela shenimtzet la'achar shekapru be'alim. It's only if you find it after the kapara was brought. Aval nimtza kodem kapara, but if you find it before you brought any, ula'achar hafrasha, and after you set aside the second one, ro'eh, you let it graze. So now, l'chaora, that's what we have over here. The first one was ineligible. Now I have a second one. I have both of them before the hafrasha, before the hakrava. The Amar bi Abba hakol modim. Everybody agrees. Shem nitkaper b'she'ena avuda. If you use the one that wasn't lost, the hainu shniya shufrasha haron avuda meta. The one that was lost dies. Why? Shekach ne'emra lachal Moshe misinai. Hatat she'avda v'nitkapru be'alea be'acheret. Chatat she'nitkapru be'alea is even if it was here b'shat what's called, as long as it was as the second one was designated because the first one was lost, right? Be'acheret harishona meta. Lo nechlaku. They're only arguing illa she'nitkaper barishona. If they brought the original korban, v'ashniya omeda, the second one is here. B'ha pligi. Rabbi Savar mafrish letzorech tashlumei abud ke'abud. You set it aside to take over the place of the lost one. That's like, has the same laws of the lost one. Rabbanan savri lav ke'abud dami. Right? It's not like the lost one. V'gabe matnitin dahacha bishlam al Rabbi Yochanan da amar sheni shebezug rishon, that you bring the second. Da amar sheni shebazug. Sheni shebezug sheni. Katan, oh, sheni shebezug rishon katani matnitin yireh. Which one is going to pasture? The one from the original pair, right? Hainu diyayif tama. That's why the reason why it doesn't die is because it's a hatat tzibur. Because if it would be a hatat yachid, any time that you put aside that you have the one that was lost, the one that was ineligible, and you mitkaper with the replacement, it's meta. Over here, it's not meta because it's chatat tzibur, right? The havole nitkaper b'she'ena, right? Nitkaper b'she'ena avuda. You mitkaper with the one that wasn't lost. V'atchuya kayemet v'akol modim shemeta. Even Rabbi, even everybody would agree that it died. Ela, right? The Amar bishlam al Rabbi Yochanan kid Rabbi Abba Amarav. The Amar Rabbi Abba Amarav hakol modim. Everybody agrees. Shem nitkaper b'she'en avuda. If you made the kapara with the one that wasn't lost, if you made the kapara with the second one, avuda meta, the one that was lost dies. Ela l'Rav, in Rav's case, havale kimafrish shte hata olah harayut. Nothing was lost. In Rav's case, right, the first one was always eligible. So why were you mafrish the second one? You mafrish the second one, and for extra, in case the first one dies, I want to have a backup. There was no avuda. Right? ואמר בי הושעיה הפריש שתי חטאות לאחריות מתכפר באחד מהם. You can be מתכפר with one of them. והשנייה תראה. The second one goes to pasture. So what are you telling me according to Rav? That it should have been meta if it would have been a hatat yachid? It's not true. Since the first one was always eligible, right away when I brought the second one, I knew it's just backup. I never really intended to bring the second one. Says the Gemara, it must be I'm doing it for backup.
We were saying before it wasn't even for backup. It was the definition of a goral.
Okay, so in the end, so what is it? It's like a backup. In case the first one dies, I'll have this one. Rashi, Ela l'Rav de Amar b'sheni shebezug sheni katani matniti. That's the one that pastures. Ubarishon shenetchei kaper. And the first one is what you bring the kapara. Amai ha diyachid tamut. Why is the yachid one dying? Lo mibay l'Rabanan de lo meta tanit kaper b'tchuya. V'inu amri mafrish li'ibud lav ke'abu dami. Ela afilu l'Rabbi lo meta. Shareh lo frash letashlume abud. It wasn't set aside for one that's lost. Shareh mitchila yarishon kayam. It was here. Ubishvil ha mishtalech shemet. It's only a temporary thing. Utzrach lavi shenaim. I had to bring another two. V'kivan de'em ba'alei hayim nidchim. Since it wasn't dahui. Mi'ikara ibai ha v'makriv. I could have brought it. V'avalei k'mafrish te hata'ol la'acharayut. It's like you set aside two for acharayut. Shem yovade hamim yakriv et chavero. The Amar Rabbi Hoshaya, Sheni Yireh Afilu l'Rabbi in such a case. Shareh lo frash l'ibud. It wasn't set aside for a lost one. So the answer, Kivan the mitzvah barishon, since the mitzvah was to use the first one, mi'ikara ki afrish l'hai sheni. When he set aside the second one, ada'ata di ibud afresheh. You knew you weren't going to use it. V'lo gara mi mafrish le'abud. That's like setting aside one for a lost one. Umatnitim Rabbi, the Mishnah goes like Rabbi. V'hachi amrina b'masechet temura, the Rav ki Rabbi muki la l'matnitim. Rav holds the Mishnahs like Rabbi, and we said, Rabbi said, mafrish chatato v'nevda, v'frish acheret tachteha v'nemtzet harishona. Harei shtehem omdot. Rabbi says, mitkaper be'echat, v'ashniya tamut. Since you set it aside for one that you knew you were only going to use one, not the other, that's considered mafrish la'abud, because I knew I couldn't use the second one. It's not considered a harayut, and we say the first one would have died if it would have been yachid, according to Rabbi, and because it's tzibur, it doesn't die.